Come on, guys, it'll be fun.
Don't forget, it's my turn to pull off the mask.
We are now leaving the van and going into the woods. Bye, Van.
Bye, Van. Like, why do we have to always do these things when it's almost dark?
The gang's all here, they're on the case, and there's no ghost that they wouldn't face, 'cause they dig it, Scooby-Doo. Yeah, they dig it, Scooby-Doo.
Hey gang, and welcome to another episode of a podcast named Scooby-Doo Extra, the show where I feature all the added value content that doesn't fit into the long-form interview format of the podcast proper. The commentaries, the reviews, the event-specific interviews. And on this installment of Extra, this is the Halloween Extra. I'm featuring a very special treat. As I stated in the outro of episode 41 of the podcast, the interview with Ashley Kohler and Casper Kelly, I'm considering that my Halloween trick, and this is my Halloween treat for all you fans and listeners. Basically, back in 2000, the Scooby-Doo project came out in 1999, and in 2000 there was an in-house DVD that was distributed among creative personnel that worked on all these bumpers and interstitials, and they contained all of the projects that were done in-house, and the creators of those interstitials and bumpers and shorts, the groovies, there's so many names for them, they did commentaries for the projects that they did. So on this DVD, which came out in 2000, there was a commentary with Larry Morris, Casper Kelly, Stephen Patrick, and Ashley Nixon, now Ashley Kohler, talking about the Scooby-Doo project. And because Larry Morris, when I interviewed Larry and Casper, I believe it was episodes 30 and 31 of the podcast, Larry had one of these DVDs. And not only did he upload the highest fidelity quality video of Scooby-Doo project that basically exists online, he also shared this commentary with me and told me that I could release it as one of the extra episodes. So I hung on to it. We did a commentary specifically for Scooby-Doo project with Larry and Casper, which was released as an earlier episode of APNSD Extra, and I hung on to this one to release it on Halloween. And that's where we are right now. It's October 31st. I'm putting this together and releasing this today. I actually had to increase my membership with my server over on Libsyn because I ran out of room with the stuff that I've put out this month. And I really wanted this to come out. So I bumped up my membership. I've got more space. And I do it all for you people. This is a labor of love. But I really love sharing this stuff with you guys. So, as is our way here on APNSD Extra, when we're doing a commentary, basically be doing a countdown. Now, the commentary here actually runs just under 10 minutes, and so the version that they're commentating on is actually the shorter version, obviously, which doesn't contain kind of the extended ending with the unmasking. Little bits in between are missing. So you cannot watch this along with the really high quality version that Larry uploaded to Vimeo, but I will have a link to a video in the show notes to a YouTube video where it's roughly 13 minutes long. There's some added stuff at the beginning and some added stuff at the end, but if you set the video to 48 seconds and then after the 3, 2, 1 go, you press play, they should mostly be in sync, and then it should run through pretty consistently. And then there's a little bit extra at the end, which you don't have to keep watching if you don't want to, but it should end roughly where Steve, I believe it's Steve, says, is this the end? Kind of right after the creature jumps up, ending on that uncertain note, as Casper said. So if everybody has gone to that link and wants to set up their video, get it to 48 seconds, press pause. We'll wait for you here. All right, you've got it to 48 seconds. I'm going to do the countdown, 3, 2, 1, go, and then click play on your video, and atomic engines to speed. You are good to go for the 2000 isolated audio commentary track for the Scooby-Doo project featuring Steve Patrick, Casper Kelly, Larry Morris, and Ashley Nixon, now Kohler. Here we go. 3, 2, 1, go.
Steve, you lead this.
Right, there are 4 of us in the room. I'm Steve Patrick.
Chris Kelly, alias Casper.
I'm Ashley Nixon.
And I'm Larry Morris.
And we were the team.
We originally had this idea before the Blair Witch even came out, and the original worry was, will people remember the movie enough to get the parody by the time the animation was done?
Exactly. We actually had 3 different projects. Chris had one, Larry had one, and I had one. They were all different, separate Scooby projects for October, our big Halloween month, obviously. And it was one of those things where when we got the assignment, we were all supposed to come up with our own creative, and I was walking through the office at one point, and Larry and I were talking about seeing the Blair Witch trailer, which was coming out, and the buzz was big on that, and we said, wait a minute, that seems like a fit. Let's all just pool all of our resources together and put something together.
That's my mom. I have to just throw that in real quick. But anyway, I just have to also talk about how by the time the animation was done, of course, there were a million Blair Witch parodies, and they were even parodying the parodies, and we really felt bad about that, but it's just the fact that animation takes so long that it put us behind the curve. But I think it resonated with people anyway, just because Scooby-Doo and Blair Witch execution is a natural fit. And I just want to say also, we did do this on a low budget. I painted those teeth. I did the makeup on that. It wasn't fun. And also...
look in the mirror here. That's
yes.
what's Butch
Siebert
Siebert
did that.
Amazing job, our compositor here at Turner Studios.
We basically gave him tracking points on all the stuff that we shot, and he just matched them perfectly and put the animation in.
And we should talk about the van while it's rolling along here. We were in Canada, and actually, on a personal note, 4 days before my wedding, we had to fly to Canada to shoot the van because it lives in Los Angeles but goes on tour, and it was cheaper for us to go to Canada to shoot it than it was to bring the van here. And we were also concerned that if we went to LA after it, the woods wouldn't look the same as they do in Atlanta,
But it did.
These are Atlanta woods.
Leaf continuity.
And one other thing I just want to jump back on the old woman is there was actually a much scarier take, but it was deemed too scary. So what you're
TV.
seeing is the B take of that woman.
This graveyard is actually in Smyrna, Georgia,
And
home of Julia Roberts.
There you go.
And it's actually in the front yard of a house I used to live in.
We made, with the different styles that were in the original Blair Witch movie, we took, made great efforts to duplicate both the black and white footage, and if you notice, and there'll be more footage later, with the film grain and scratches on the film, as well as the video looks. And actually, on an audio note, we did sweeten the sound effects. Are a little bit different on each if you pay close attention. You can hear a different camera whir when it's film, and then on video it's a different sound.
And that's Michael Kohler. He just was awesome.
Michael Kohler at Soapbox Studios, our audio engineer, and Roy Clements also did some work on this.
It's probably about time that we mentioned Primal. Talk about Primal Screen. They did the animation for us, and
Definitely.
we had a not so big budget, so we had to utilize a lot of Illustrator files as well. I don't know.
Or we would say, give us animation of someone from behind talking, and we would just reuse it and reconfigure it.
A lot of
countless
mileage
times.
out of that.
Or a walk
Flip it a
cycle.
different way,
and
or
just reuse
whatever.
it and reuse it.
So instead of what we call lip flap, where you make the mouth move into different positions for what you're talking about, we would have what we call hand flap or run flap.
Shoulder flap.
Exactly. And a lot of using, just figuring out ways to have the characters speak off camera, either holding the camera or in the dark, and we got a lot of mileage out of that as well.
And one thing I like is that the animation is still flat, just like the original series. We didn't modernize it. We kept that style, and yet we used shadow and blur to really put them in the setting. I really, really like that technique.
It feels
hats
very
off to
of
Butch.
the show, yeah.
Well, the combination of using flat characters along with digital video, we did shoot digital video here, not like professional video,
Exactly.
consumer video.
And we did.
Is that it works in that?
Larry did that.
It works in that respect. It's nice cheapness, a cheap quality to it to match the style of the movie.
We have to acknowledge Larry walking through the woods pretty much every night around midnight in the graveyard and everything else. I don't think the rest of us would have been.
Well, and I think that part of the reason that for
I like
whatever
that
reason,
shot.
good or bad. I think that we did get away with a lot, and we were able to get as much coverage and things like that, because a lot of times there were only 2 or 3 of us at any given shoot, pulling our own cables, figuring out our own timings. I think that this is a case where if we had had a big crew, it would have really stifled what we were able to do, because it would have been too glossy.
Well, we couldn't pan around, like especially this shot right here. I was panning around the woods, and I think Steve was here for this.
That's right.
And Steve would give me cues because this is his script. I
Yeah,
believe.
this little section is part of mine.
And I would shoot basically wild with Steve behind me.
Just
So we had 2 of us in the woods at my parents'
with
house.
a pen light and a script going and falling into sinkholes and
Actually, and this is with Chris. Chris's hand actually reaches in and grabs these Scooby snacks, and we covered it with animation. There we go.
that's actually Chris's hand.
That's television magic.
I'm famous.
There it is again.
Way to go, Chris.
Those are dog treats.
I didn't know that.
Larry was also the props master among,
right.
The
among everything
van
else.
should be over
I really like this stuff where it starts to break down because we know the characters so well, but we've never seen them
Exactly.
really bicker, and that's to me is a lot of fun.
Yeah.
Especially this one coming up about the try to look feminine.
It's a golden line.
I've been
It's
thinking
the
it for a
timing,
long
though.
time.
Here's the timing.
Try to look feminine.
The slow burn.
Yeah.
I know. If we just
Here's an example of no mouth. You can't see the mouth.
And it's head flap.
Exactly.
Looking up, look down.
But it contrasts the film very nicely.
Yeah, it worked well.
Exactly.
Just like the film, they're getting lost in
Best prop in the whole dang thing.
By Larry Morrison.
many
Yeah.
many hours on Photoshop.
Cartoon footsteps in the ground.
Butch putting all
Yeah,
this stuff
a
together.
lot of this
Absolutely
was,
amazing.
oh, this will be easy for Butch to do, and Butch is like, guys, but he did it. It was amazing. All this shaky camera.
Well, and 2, I really like on this one is a good example how we've got depth of field with the blur on
Nice
on Shaggy.
multiplaning, yeah, multiplaning there.
I think we all learned a lot about flame and tracking points and movement and different things on this job that have carried over really well to other
Oh,
things.
definitely.
And we've actually used a lot of this animation later in other projects where if we need an extra character, we'll have, like Fred was in the big game. And
Right. Actually, that animation
Yeah.
right there.
Very, very
Peanut
off.
head.
Yeah, let's say it. The
Very
most
off-model.
off-model shot of
One of that's the one I think in there. The big peanut. And I think too, it was a lot of fun cutting the audio together because there's a lot to be said for overlapping the dialogue. A lot of times in the shows and a lot of cartoons, everybody waits for everybody else to speak, and it felt
I love this
a
one
lot
breaking
more
out of
real.
character.
Yeah.
This little panic part. His
That really-
his
that's-
little ascot is a do-rag.
That's
I like
that's
that.
in character with, is it Mike from Blair Witch?
Yeah, totally.
Yeah. One thing that we actually got an email, and I was in contact with the guys who made Blair Witch, Dan Myrick and Eduardo Sanchez, and they actually really liked this spoof the best because it was so on base with the film and what the film was all about.
Well,
Really-
and how many spoofs were there? I mean,
Oh, there were so
MTV,
many. But
NBC.
each spoof made it fit, its own purpose. This is an amazing job by Butch Siebert.
This is actually very early. Didn't we get this test pretty early in the process?
We're
and we
like,
went,
whoa.
oh man, this is going to work.
Yeah,
And that's Butch.
the running stuff really made us feel
Daphne
like
showing a little gam there.
Woo! Hello.
this is the house where I used to live, and the
It's a
basement.
bare naked ladies song.
The
all of a
basement,
sudden.
the basement frightened me just as much as the Blair Witch basement, so I thought it would be perfect.
I'm opening the door.
Very nice.
Thanks.
Coming up is the chase scene that's totally done in the. It's a Scooby-Doo cliche with the doors, yet it's totally done in the Blair Witch style. And I think it's a really nice mending, and also this music.
And let's give Chris Kelly the due credit. He came up with this whole end section that is absolutely
Oh, Larry,
brilliant.
Can we
Larry
say?
and Steve too. Totally.
Can we say climax?
Mercy.
Right
and this
here.
is
There we
actually
go.
the scariest thing I think I've ever seen on our air. Because it actually gets creepy at the end. You're going, oh, mercy, really?
Opening and closing the door. I remember standing in this hallway, and Chris, Larry, and I are standing there just going, this won't work. Yes, it will. It'll work. No, it won't. It's not going to work. It's going to work. It's okay.
Oh yeah, here we go. Yeah.
What are you doing in the corner?
Dear Lord, it's still creepy. This is the best stuff. Wait, right? Coming up. And then the capper.
Oh my God, we've killed them all.
I'm real happy they let us end on this sort of uncertain note.
Exactly.
I mean, as far as spoofs go,
The end. Or is it?
Is it the end? Yes, indeed, dear listener, it is the end. That concludes the 2000 isolated commentary track for the Scooby-Doo project featuring Larry Morris, Stephen Patrick, Casper Kelly, and Ashley Nixon, now Kohler. That was a real treat for me to hear the first time I listened to it, hearing kind of all four of them chiming in and still so fresh in their minds and talking from a perspective that is only, maybe a year out rather than 20 years out. Although, to be fair, having that 20 years distance does actually give you a different and just as interesting perspective, which is why I was equally happy to have the commentary that we did with Casper and Larry. I want to thank Larry for sharing this with me. This is not something that I think a lot of people have had a chance to experience or hear, and I'm thrilled that he allowed me to include this as a part of the whole added value content archival aspect of the show. Larry, unfortunately, doesn't really have any social media presence, although you can check out his Vimeo page. I'll include the links, as I said previously, in the show notes. Casper you can find on social media at Hey Casper Kelly on Twitter. You can check out Ashley's goings-on at the Awesome Incorporated website, awesomeinc.com, and also the Instagram, which is awesomeinc_ATL. And I'm not sure what Steve's socials are. He wasn't on the show. We actually tried to get him on the show, but we're not able to. Who knows? Maybe in the future, down the line, we may still get Mr. Patrick on the show to talk about his experience, to round it out, to have the holistic experience of the Scooby-Doo project. There was some talk with Ashley and Casper recently about seeing kind of who else we can nab to bring on the show, who would be fun to come on and talk with. So we'll see. We'll see what happens down the road. If you enjoyed this commentary, if you enjoy the content that I put out, please support the show in all the ways that are currently available. Like, share, follow, and subscribe to the socials, YouTube, all that stuff. I am at Scooby-Doo-cast or a podcast named Scooby-Doo, sort of across the board online. You can check out the WordPress blog, scoobydoocast.wordpress.com, where I feature some text interviews, some articles, and some other various and sundry things. And if you stream or download the show off of Apple Podcasts, I would very much recommend that while you're there, you rate and review the show. It still helps with the algorithms to get the show into the eyes and ears of people who may enjoy this content, but just don't know it's out there because algorithms, man. So thanks again so much for joining me for this special commentary treat. I hope everybody out there is having a very safe, fun, and happy Halloween this October 31st. I'm really happy I was able to get this out to all of you on Halloween. It's a very Halloween-y thing. And as always, I appreciate all the support that you have all shown the podcast. Be sure to check out my interview with Ashley and Casper, episode 41 of the podcast proper, also released today. It's a great conversation about Night of the Living Doo, which came a couple years after Scooby-Doo Project, as well as some Scooby-Doo Project talk. And there's also just some stories and remembrances of working at Cartoon Network in the late 90s, early aughts. And both Casper and Ashley are just really wonderful people, and it was such a privilege and a treat to get to talk to them and continue to interact with them. There may be some more interesting kind of added value content coming down the pike. There's been some discussion about possibly getting some images and stuff that would end up probably going on the blog. So I'll keep you posted on that. Keep your ear to the ground, check the socials. That's basically where I communicate kind of everything that's going on. So again, thank you guys so much. Take care, have a happy Halloween, and we will see you next time on a podcast named Scooby-Doo.
You don't know where we are, do you?
I know. If we just follow the map.
Can we just figure this out and get home? I'm done with monsters and curses. Put a fork in me. I'm done.
Yeah, put a fork in me too. Give me the map.